Okay, so you've maybe seen this trick online or in a store. A cooktop boils a pot of water, but a piece of paper right underneath it doesn't even get warm. It totally looks like some kind of kitchen magic, right? Well, today we're going to pull back the curtain on this incredible piece of tech. So, what's the real trick behind this modern day wizardry? Let's dive in.
Seriously, how do you do that? How do you cook food with absolutely no flame, no glowing red hot coil? You put a pan on this flat, cool-looking glass surface, and bam, seconds later, it's sizzling. There's nothing. No glow, no flame, just heat. So what is the secret here?
Well, here's the answer. It's not magic at all. It's physics. And yeah, that's kind of the punchline. This whole incredible process, it relies on a fundamental principle of physics that's actually been hiding in plain sight for almost 200 years. And it all comes back to a simple little demonstration that honestly still seems to defy all logic. Right, this is the classic newspaper trick. It shows you just how different induction is from anything else. See, the cooktop itself doesn't really get hot. That's why you can put a newspaper, or, even your hand for a quick second, right next to a pot that's at a rolling boil. The energy just completely bypasses the glass surface and zaps straight into the pan. All right, so let's get into the nitty-gritty of how this magic actually works. It all boils down to one single core concept, a concept that powers everything from massive electric generators to, you guessed it, this amazing stove. And this is it. This is the secret sauce. Electromagnetic induction. The one and only Michael Faraday figured this out, get this, way back in 1831. Basically, if you have a magnetic field that's changing back and forth really fast, it can actually create an electric current in a piece of metal nearby without ever touching it.
So here's a peek under the hood, so to speak. You see that copper coil? It sits just below the glass cooktop. Now, when you turn the stove on, an alternating current zips through that coil, creating this invisible, rapidly changing magnetic field that projects straight up. Then, the moment you put the right kind of pan on top, that invisible field starts doing its work inside the metal of the pan.
Okay, so it breaks down into these 4 key steps. First, electricity flows through that copper coil. Second, that creates the rapidly changing magnetic field we just talked about. Third, and this is key, that magnetic field induces these little swirling electrical currents right there in the base of the pan. They're called eddy currents. But here's the real aha moment. Step 4. Metal isn't a perfect conductor, right? It has resistance. So think of those eddy currents as like a river of electricity trying to flow, and the pan's own resistance is like a bunch of rocks in that river. All that bumping and crashing generates friction, and that friction is heat, a lot of heat. And that is the fundamental difference. It's a total game changer. With a gas stove or a regular electric one, you're heating up an external thing, a flame, a coil, and then that thing heats up your pan. So much energy is just lost to the air. But with induction, the pan itself becomes the source of the heat. The energy transfer is direct, it's super efficient, and it is crazy fast. Okay, so if the science is actually pretty straightforward, you might be asking yourself, why did it take so long for these things to show up in our kitchens? Well, the journey from a lab discovery to an actual appliance you can buy, yeah, that was a long, long road. So let's walk through this timeline. It all kicks off, scientifically, with Faraday back in 1831. But then, look at that gap. It takes nearly 80 years before anyone even files a patent for an induction cooker in 1909. Then it kind of pops up as a cool futuristic demo at the 1933 Chicago World's Fair. Another huge wait until the 1970s when the first commercial versions show up. But honestly, they were bulky and way too expensive for the average person. The real tipping point, the reason we're even talking about this now, is what happened in the 2010s. That's when modern semiconductors got powerful and cheap enough to finally make this 100-year-old idea a reality for everyone. And check this out. This is an illustration from one of those first patents, way back in 1909. It's amazing. You can see the basic idea is all right there. There's the coil, labeled S, creating a magnetic field to heat up the vessel, labeled A. The core concept hasn't changed one bit in over a century. So, after that 100-year journey, why is induction suddenly everywhere? Well, it's because its biggest advantages, efficiency, speed, and safety, are things we care about now more than ever. I mean, this chart really tells the whole story. Look at efficiency. Induction is around 90% efficient. That means nearly all of the energy is going right into your food. Now, compare that to gas. It's only about 40%. The other 60% is just heating up your kitchen. And then you see induction wins on speed, it wins on safety because the surface stays cool, and the control is just instantaneous. And when we talk about speed, how fast are we really talking? 2 minutes. That's how quickly a typical induction cooktop can boil a pretty big pot of water. 2 minutes. For a gas or electric stove, you're looking at more like 8, maybe even 10 minutes. That's a huge difference when you're just trying to make dinner. So when you add all that up, you realize this isn't just a minor upgrade. It's a whole new way of cooking. You get the crazy speed of a microwave, the super precise temperature control that professional chefs dream of, and the safety of a surface that won't burn you. Oh, and here's a bonus for anyone who hates cleaning. Since the surface doesn't get screaming hot, spills don't bake on. You just wipe them off. It's amazing. Okay, so there has to be a catch, right? And there is, one big one. Because this whole thing relies on magnetism, your pots and pans have to be magnetic. So that means things like cast iron or magnetic stainless steel, they work perfectly. But your aluminum, copper, or glass pans, nope, they won't work. But hey, there's a super easy test. Just grab a fridge magnet. If it sticks to the bottom of your pan, you are good to go. So induction has already changed the game, for sure. But the technology is not done evolving, not even close. The next wave of innovation is about to make these cooktops even more flexible, way smarter, and pretty much essential for the kitchen of the future.
And a big part of that future is about freedom. Imagine this. Instead of being stuck with, 4 or 5 specific burners, these new zoneless cooktops have a whole grid of tiny coils underneath. What does that mean? It means you can put any size pot anywhere you want on the surface. The cooktop just automatically finds it and starts heating it up. Total freedom.
But the innovation doesn't even stop there. Remember that one big catch, the cookware? Well, that barrier is starting to come down. New systems are using things like infrared sensors that can heat any metal pan, including your favorite copper and aluminum ones. Now, combine that with AI that can automatically hold a perfect temperature for whatever you're cooking, and you can see why induction is becoming such a huge part of the push for sustainable all-electric homes. I think this quote just nails the shift we're seeing perfectly. The old way was all about brute force, a big open flame, a glowing hot coil of metal. The new way, it's about being smart, being precise, and being efficient. It's just a totally different philosophy for how we cook. So all this leaves us with one final question to think about. As we move into this smarter, more sustainable future, is your next kitchen going to be built around a flame or a magnetic field? The choice is no longer just about how you like to cook. It's about what kind of technology you want to build your home around. Pretty interesting stuff.
Don't forget to like and subscribe for more How Meets History.